Welcome to a second tutorial based on the behavior tree series. So this tutorial we're going to look at importing animations, and we're going to start with some basic combat mechanics for our character to do. So I've just gone into Mixamo and I've chosen this Girl Scout character because she's kind of creepy and zombie-like, and I've downloaded 3 animations for her. So I've downloaded an idle animation, I've downloaded a crawl animation, and I've downloaded a punch animation. You can have a running animation if you prefer, but I just thought I'd use the crawl because it's quite zombie-like. So just make sure as well, I'm sure you've used Mixamo before. If you haven't, make sure you download your character first in the T-pose. When you go onto your animations, if you have one that involves your character moving, so for example like a running animation, make sure that in place is ticked so that it's not going to mess up within Unreal Engine. And when you download, make sure you click without skin as well. That aside, I have already imported these. I've made a new folder within my zombie character and I've just called it character anim, and in here you can see that I've got my 3 animations and I've got all my meshes as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click within this folder and we're going to add an animation blueprint. And we're going to make sure that the skeleton that we select is the skeleton that we have just imported. Also, make sure that when you import it, import your skeleton mesh first and then import your animations after, so you can assign the animations to the skeletal mesh. So I'm just going to call this ABP, so animation blueprint zombie. And I'm just going to double click to open this up. Now, I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not going to make any blend spaces or anything. I'm just simply making it on a state machine. So I'm going to come out of my result here, type in state machine, add one of those in, double click to open it, and then I'm going to have a state here called idle, state here called, what do I want to call? Crawl. Let's call it crawl. And then I just need to make the transition go back as well. So I'm just going to compile that. There will be some errors because we haven't done the transitions yet. And firstly, we need to put the animations in. So just double click on the idle. I'm just going to attach zombie idle straight in there, and then running crawl straight in there. I'm just going to compile that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is add up some transitions. So essentially for the player to go from idle to crawl, they need to be gaining some speed. So we need to go into our event graph and make sure that the speed is recorded within a variable. So I'm going to come straight out from my event blueprint update animation, and I'm going to cast to blueprint class zombie. There we go. BPC underscore zombie. So I'm going to attach the object into my try get pawn owner, and from there I'm going to get velocity, and then out of there I'm going to get vector length, and then I'm going to right click, promote that to a variable, call that speed. And I'm simply just going to attach that straight into there and then compile that. So going back to our state machine, we can now add these transitions in. So I'm just going to double click on my first transition. So this one is to get from idle to crawl. So I'm going to grab a reference to my speed, and I'm going to get a greater equal. Okay, so if speed is greater or equal than, let's say, 5, then it's going to move into the crawl. So we need to kind of do this to the other side as well. So go back onto our second transition. We want to get a reference to our speed. Right from there, this time we want less than and less than 5. We're compiling that now, there shouldn't be any errors. So now, when the player is in idle, they can go to crawl if they're doing more than 5 velocity, and they can go back if they're doing less than 5. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that, and the first thing we need to do now is actually put our character and animation into our BC underscore zombie. So I'm going to go onto the viewport, I'm going to click my mesh, and I am going to change that to my Girl Scout character. I'm going to make her a little bit smaller because that is overly huge for a little girl. Maybe a bit smaller, and that's probably about right. And then we're also going to change the animation blueprint class to ABP zombie. Okay. So if we press play now, you can see that, oh, she's very small. I'll change that in a bit of the video, but you can see that it's working. She's chasing after us. She's going from idle, and then she goes into a weird crawl kind of thing. Okay, so now let's add her a punch animation. So we want to go onto our content drawer. We want to go onto our behavior tree, double click on that, and we have our behavior tree here. So when it gets the player location, it moves to the player location and then it waits. But between the wait and the move to, we're going to add a new task, and we're going to do play animation. And then the animation we're going to play is going to be our punch animation. For me, it's called zombie punching. So I'm just going to save that and see what happens. Okay, she's not doing anything. Oh, she is doing something. Okay, so when she chases after us, and then she punches when she gets to the location. So that's how I intended it to happen. In the next tutorial, we're going to actually delete what we've just done there. So we are going to delete this, and we're going to do it a different way. I just wanted to show you how to do it like this, just in case it works in some certain circumstance. So I'm just going to save it for now, and then in the next video, we're going to be deleting that, and we're going to be trying a new method into importing the animations to make it a bit smoother.